call it
Nick,
elbow
ready?
and step it over.
Yeah.
Jeff, ready?
Oh yeah.
Well, I would say that I'm ready, but I'm not quite ready. But now I'm
Well, then
ready.
why'd you ask? Oh,
Not ready.
Freshly picked and ready for consumption. Here comes another round of the Radishcast.
Another Radishcast coming in for you. I'm your fearless commissioner and spooky season onesie, Mike Fisher, along with, just like every time, my co-host Nick Spill Stoll and Jeff Baby Daddy Gregory. Let's turn some rumors into facts.
Baby
that's my daddy. That's my daddy.
Hey.
Did you guys notice that I have a onesie on? That this is
No, I had no idea. What? That
Ooh,
is
spooky. Jeez.
It is spooky. Yeah, I have a lot of onesies. I have a surprise. Meeting Olivia has increased my amount of onesies by an incomprehensible amount.
Is there a
Do you-
butt
Partly
flap on that?
Partly because it was 0. No, this is by far the worst one I have. It does not have a butt flap, no pockets, but it's new.
Do
It's
you
the
just
it's
go
the
right
most
to
recent.
bed in those after the day?
No, they eventually get too hot and I take them off. I can't sleep
Any
in
more
this if
questions,
I'm
Nick?
sleeping naked.
Yeah, makes no sense. If you know this.
I know. But the audience doesn't know.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
true. But Jeffy's a baby daddy. How's baby daddy life?
Dude, it's been awesome. About 10 days now of baby daddy now. So
Oh, baby.
been
Literally.
getting educated on how to change diapers, catching sleep whenever you can. Some big learning curves there. But overall it's been awesome. It's been fun. Just Ma and I enjoying the little guy, just staring at him and kind of just laughing and enjoying every minute of it here. So it's been nice to be home the last couple weeks.
Aw.
It's exciting to hear. Baby watch next time it makes it onto the show is going to be popping. But enough about your stupid life. Nick, what do you got going on?
Literally nothing. I mean, I did move, I guess. It's not as cool as getting a baby.
Or a onesie.
Or a
It's
onesie.
true. Not even
New
close to
days,
on
though.
par with our news.
Just
Does that mean that-
disappointing.
Does that mean that like your internet won't cut out in the middle of shows anymore?
I have no idea. We'll see. It might be worse because I'm on Wi-Fi. So
All right. Well, we got a couple bye weeks this week. That's going to be an interesting thing as far as football is concerned. We'll see who's going to get their ass kicked by that. I think week 7 might be a little more painful of a week for buys. There's a couple this week though. Some money winners to cover. Old Man Joe won a couple weeks ago with Jared Goff as the highest scoring bench player. Grizz won this last week with Travis Kelce scoring 4 touchdowns on 25 yards.
right. What
It's insane. Top scoring tight end on the week. If only I would have played Taysom Hill. I definitely should have. But
Did Taysom outscore him?
yeah,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
because he didn't have 25 yards.
4 touchdowns.
He had 3 rushing and a passing, 112 rushing yards.
I
Yeah.
hate that guy.
Jesus.
I hate him.
Still
Oh, yeah.
monster.
Oh,
But this next week we got no money. Well, I guess money, fake money. $10 to the lowest starting points. So Kyle Monroe, congrats on
Wow.
your $10.
yeah.
Hey, I
Use
want
him
to
well.
try this. Come on, I want to get man.
But I don't know. That's all I have. I'm pretty unprepared for this show, if I'm being totally honest. But let's get into it.
This here's the Radish Recap.
Radish recap for week 5. We got Grizzly Adams and Coach Alex Cooley taking on Old Man Joe and Coach Joe Thomas. tight one here. Looked like it could have gone either way, but that 30-point outing by Travis Kelce, those 4 touchdowns, he needed every single one of them. Grizz got the win 88-84. Jeff, toss it over to you first. What are you seeing in this one?
Yeah, I mean, you hit on it. 88-84, low scoring game. Both teams really should and have deserved a loss for that, but Cooley able to squeak it out. Partly, Mike, you might as well just jump right into it. We'll get this out of the way, if you're prepared for it or not. But
I am not. Don't you worry about that.
Jeff's worst coach of the week.
Yeah, so my worst coach of the week. Actually, looking at all the matchups, it was pretty hard to pick one this week. It can't be Monroe every single week. So unfortunately, Joe, old man Joe, you are the worst coach of the week this week. Losing to a guy that only scored 88 points. Big opportunity to kind of get above 500. I think you would have went to 3-2, and unfortunately squandered that opportunity. So, looking at your lineup, really didn't get anything from your wide receivers. Total of 13 or 14 points is kind of what boils down to the loss for you. So, all in all, that's why Jeff's worst coach of the week is old man Joe. That's all I really got, boys. Kick it over to you.
Yeah, I know he was. Joe was asking about, does he start playing Pickens in his lineup? He kind of had a connection there with Kenny Pickett in the last game. It turns out that would have been a good call for him. Devin Duvernay did fine in that flex. He would actually had to play him over one of his more sure thing guys like Amon-Ra or Drake London to make a difference, which you're probably not going to do. So that didn't really end up making the difference. And when you kind of look down his lineup, right, what's he going to do? Michael Carter fell into the end zone twice because of Breece Hall going down at the 1-2 times.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know that Rashad or Penny is going to break his fibia and Ken Walker's going to get all that work. Obviously those are things moving forward. Now he's got some information, but what's he going to do in this game as far as those couple of plays? But definitely plays he could have made that he had opportunities to take this game away and to win it. But Nick, toss it over to you for the Grizz side of the ball. What you seeing there?
Well, Travis Kelce is about the only good part of that 30-point outing we talked about at the beginning. Good, but I didn't think he was going to get it. I really thought that Joe had a chance to win it going into that game, but I was kind of rooting for you, Joe. I guess Cooley just finds ways to win. That Herbert start there, I mean, there's back to how it was before with that Montgomery, 12 carries versus 4, nothing really there. So I don't got much else than that. Jackson with only 14 points, that's tough. I can't remember how Cincy's defense is doing, but I didn't think it was that great.
I think they've actually been surprisingly pretty solid.
Yeah.
But yeah. No,
that's all I got, baby.
Not a whole lot else to talk about there. Yeah, I really didn't think so either, especially when Kansas City got down to the goal line that 4th time. I was like, all right, if the Raiders do nothing else, right, they're going to take away Kelce, right? If they do nothing else, and then Kelce was actually wide open, standing next to another player who was also wide open, but then they just decided to throw it to Kelce of the two of them. I think it was him and whoever the other tight end is. They were just standing wide open next to each other. But yeah, but not a pretty game. If you're Joe, you got to be upset about that, right? Not something you expected. I actually talked to Joe before the game, and he's like, I don't feel perfect. I'm not, but he's like, I feel pretty good. Like Hunter Renfrow and Kelce to get 30 points. They got to kind of go off, and Renfrow did nothing, and Kelce just did it all by himself. So. Definitely a little unfortunate, but moving on to our next matchup, we got Balls Life and Coach John Lamer is taking on a little JJ Humpy and Madumpy and Coach Jordan Chartier. JJ Humpy takes the win, 115-92 here. When you're Jordan, you got to feel pretty good about picking up. This is his 2nd win in a row while he's starting Cooper Rush at quarterback, and it's not like Cooper Rush is playing well. And so again, it feels good. You're putting up 115 points. You're getting 4 out of your quarterback. That's just gotta give him some confidence. I mean, part of that is 3 catches for Gabe Davis, 2 of them a 98-yard touchdown on the first drive of the game, and then a 60-some yarder I think on a couple drives later. So getting 30 points out of him, I don't think that's something you're going to get every week. But it shows kind of like the opportunity of what he can get. So right, if you got one guy in your lineup that can just go nuclear, or maybe he does nothing, that's not a bad thing to have. Leonard Fournette
Volatility, baby.
had a great game for him too. Outside of that, pretty modest games everywhere else, but enough to get it done for him. Those two guys just really carried him through here. Nick, toss it over to you, throwing it to Ball's life side of the ball. What you seeing there?
Yeah, Najee Harris is kind of concerning. That offense looks pretty shitty. They're going to be having to pass a lot, it feels like, even though that defense is okay. Derrick Henry, stud, 28 carries, 102 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then DK's coming around, my boy Gino. DK's going to be valuable this year, I guess.
I'm sure we'll get to it later, but you're going to have to actually start making some decisions here. This is fine. This is the first week where I would be actually like Gino or Russ. Like,
it's Gino for sure. I'm definitely starting Gino from here on out. Russell is
right.
planted on my bench.
Oh, that takes
Spoiler alert.
That takes some ball. Yeah, we'll major spoiler. No, Jeff. What else? Anything else you're seeing in this one?
No, just a good opportunity for John to still kind of stay in that playoff race, and unfortunately he lost it. So I don't think any of us thought he would be 1-4 where he's at right now. But like you mentioned, Mike, little JJ and my dumpy strong showing. It's a 3-2. Like, you gotta be feeling good. So overall, both teams are. I'm a little scared of Jordan's team, and John's team is on the downward slide, but he's got enough power and star power here to turn it around. It's just a matter of Willie, essentially. That's all I got.
Yeah, Stafford's been playing unbelievably bad. Like, he's basically I don't think you can reliably start Matt Stafford anymore. Like,
right.
And expect anything out of him. I think I saw a stat that Cooper Kupp currently has more points than Matt Stafford, which is just insane. How does you would think some passes have to go somewhere else, but they're just not. There's just that offense can't get anything else going. So, that's tough for him. He's got a tough matchup this week too, so could be a 1-5 start for him. Not pretty, but I will say, John, I was there last year. I started 1-4 last year, I think.
Ooh.
I didn't like it.
I didn't like it. I don't like it either. So
yeah, you at least have an excuse.
I don't even think I was 1-4 last year. I might have been 1-5.
You were, because you had the 17-game losing streak or something going.
13. Monroe's gonna take that too, so we're fine.
Oh God.
But all right, moving on to our next matchup. We got the SCLSU Mud Dogs and coaches Troy Hecht and Joe Harper taking on the Taint Ticklers and Coach Nick Stoll. Don't know what the line was here, but SCLSU took the win, 99-81. Jeff, toss it over to you. What you seeing here?
I'll go on Troy's head. Mahomes coming out, going into that game. Nick, you were up 12 with Waller, and he had Mahomes, and was there anyone else, or was it just Mahomes? Might have just been Mahomes. So for Mahomes to put up 30 points and kind of win this one pretty easily for him is good to see for Troy's squad. And Jeff Wilson, kind of a surprise with that injury to Mitchell going down early in the year. Jeff Wilson has been a surprising play, really good consistency, getting high points, just shy of 20 this week. So a couple guys, CeeDee Lamb, Judy, Dubs, lower in the point total. So he's got some more potential here to get some higher points, but enough to get the win, and that's all we're really going for. So
yeah, and the Mud Dogs, Damian Harris getting hurt in this one, so he's basically got Mixon and Wilson left as far as running backs. Mm-hmm. That's who he's going to have to count on from here on out. And when Elijah Mitchell gets back, right, what does Jeff Wilson still have in the tank? And you look at, Jeff Wilson, 2 touchdowns went to Tevin Coleman in this one, so he could have had an even bigger game. But we can talk about that same thing on the other side of the ball, Nick, right? Alvin Kamara with 20 points, but we just talked about it earlier. 3 rushing touchdowns went to Taysom Hill. Those are not that all of them go to Kamara, but if he gets 1, if he gets 2, maybe we're looking at a different game. I don't think it would have mattered because Mahomes did so much, but you'd at least maybe felt a little bit better going into that last game. Nick, tossing it over to you a little bit. Talk through this game.
Yeah, I mean, I was feeling good. I was like, if I can get to 20 points, Justin Tucker can't get another 2 field goals on that game against Cincy. Then Tucker hits 2 long ones. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be tough. 12 points, Waller versus Mahomes. I don't think it's gonna happen, but there was a little hope. If Waller went off, he'd have to score about 15, I think, and he gets hurt on the second drive. I'm like,
Yeah.
where is Waller? And just hamstring, hamstring, hamstring. My team, hamstrings.
Or lack thereof hamstrings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
Nick, you got a good hamstring you can donate to somebody, or
not really. My hamstrings are so tight.
maybe that's why.
We're taking after coach.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, no, Nick, man, it's tough. You look at there's two teams. Let's compare you to John just real quick. Like I said, at least you can look at this season and say, okay, I'm 1-4, but I've played without Keenan for 4 of the weeks. I've played without Godwin for 2 of the weeks. I played without Pittman for 1 of the weeks. Played without Kamara for 2 of the like you've had to kind of overcome all those injuries. If those guys come back and this week, next week, maybe you're poised to make that late season push. John sitting at 1-4, his losses are more, underperformance of the team, and it's not you have a little less to blame it on, right? It's not like he's just getting outscored. It'd have been nice to pick this one up. It'd have been nice to pick maybe another one up, but maybe not all hopeless for you here. Yeah, that Geno versus Russ though, that's crazy to me, but I think you have to. It's not doesn't surprise me. Moving on to our next matchup, we got Cobra Kai and Coach Kyle Stankowski taking on Jay's Juggernauts and Coach Jeff Gregory. Jugs put it out a dominant performance. I think second highest on the week, second highest score on the week. Jugs winning this 133-105. Nick, I'm going to toss it over to you first. What you got in this one?
I want to talk about Jeff's side. He's a couple of Josh Jacobs. He ran so hard, man. He looks good, and
He was fun to watch.
Even in redraft leagues, I'm like, I want no part of that. It's going to be multiple running backs. They didn't pick up his 5th-year extension. And I was wrong, along with a lot of other people, but he looks good. Cooper continues to grab touchdowns for you. Stevenson, big old game against Detroit. So, and not to mention that Brees Hall guy. He's looking good, too. I have him on one of my fantasy teams redrafts, and 18 carries. You got to love that. Except for get him in the end zone on those other 2 freaking Carter.
I was yelling for him. I was yelling for him to get in there. I was hoping at least one of those to get down to the 1-yard line and then just see it to go to Carter twice. I was like, come on, you got to be kidding me. But no, I mean, overall, I think you hit on it. The running backs really performed well. My wide receiver room wasn't great, but Cooper did a nice job holding down the fort there. And then, I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Goddard too. He's getting a lot of targets, and he's doing it without really getting into the end zone. So if he can sneak in one of these weeks, it could be a solid performance. But no, I was happy with the week. Gotta be. I was going into that last Monday night game +5 with Jacobs versus Clyde, and I was concerned. I was a little like, well, this could go either way. Clyde could get in. He's been scoring touchdowns like crazy. Jacobs just had a monster game, but is he going to repeat? And then pretty early on, Jacobs came out and was just running people over, got in the end zone. I was feeling pretty good after that. So,
yeah, and Jeff, you got to be feeling good, right? One of the biggest concerns for your team in years past has been you've had a bunch of good, not great running backs, and you've kind of just been cycling through them, trying to figure out who's the right play, and it really seems like that's kind of fleshing out for you, right? Brees is looking to really be emerging. Jacobs really emerging. Damian Harris getting hurt, so Ramondre Stevenson's going to be the guy. Before I move over and talk about Cobra Kai's side of the ball, I do want to touch on one thing for Nick.
Nick's garbage time all-star.
Trash. I love trash. Yum, yum, trash. I want to eat trash.
Oh, I forgot about this. Brees Hall,
You even talked about him.
No, that's the funny part. Garbage time all-star. I mean, I think there was like 9 minutes left when he scored his actual touchdown. What was it? They were up by like 15 or something, or 12. So the real garbage time would be Barrios, but no one started him. He's deep on my bench. So
So Breece Hall is the player Nick's talking about because he didn't bring up his name.
I didn't?
Not this time. You talked about him earlier, but then you just started saying he got it late.
Sorry, Breece Hall, dude.
But, so looking over at Stank's side of the ball, right? Not a bad week, 105 points. Jalen Hurts doing what Jalen Hurts does, 60 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground, right? Who cares what he does through the air if he's going to do that kind of stuff every week? So, proving to be just a solid quarterback who can't throw touchdowns. James Robinson, I think a lot of us expected this to he was being hyper efficient, and it's kind of slowed down for him a little bit. You kind of see what happens when he doesn't bust off a huge run, doesn't get into the end zone. He kind of falls and disappoints you a little bit. But no, Dameon Pierce is a big get for Kai here, and I think he's going to keep being really good. He's looking awesome in that Texans backfield. Wide receiver room though, definitely need to figure it out a little bit here. Olave's awesome. Got a concussion in this one, but it does look like he's going to be okay and he's going to play. But that wide receiver room's definitely hurting him a bit. So big win for Jeff here. 2 in a row, Jeff.
I know. Let's keep it going.
You're pushing. But moving on to our next matchup, we got I Am Left-Handed and Coach Kyle Monroe taking on Archduke Fish and Coach Mike Fisher. Some fun here. So the Dukes take the win, 127 to 47.9. I never say decimal places when I call out scores, but I do when it is the lowest score all time in league history. So Kyle, the new trophy that he'll probably retake from himself at some point this year. I don't know. But Nick, toss it over to you first. Why don't you? I'm gonna let you talk about my side of the ball because I know you don't like talking about Kyle's.
Yeah, I never do. Running back room, great. Barkley, awesome this week. McAfee with those 12 targets. I don't even remember seeing that during the game, but holy spitfire. We'll take that.
They were playing down, so they were just
exactly
firing it to him.
Kittle, though, when is he going to get going? Do you have any other options down there? I mean, how can you bench him? But
Taysom and Gerald Everett.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Taysom going in next week, Mike?
I don't know. We'll talk about that later. I do have questions on that.
Yeah. But, your team's Studley.
Yeah.
True.
Happy to see Jacoby, healthy and back, and had a really nice game. And honestly, if George Kittle doesn't have that fumble, 7.5 points from your tight end is par for the course as far as what half the league does. So, but yeah, definitely starting to question where I need to go there. Jeff, toss it over to you. Let you talk through Monroe's side of the ball. Talk through the lowest score in league history.
Yeah, I mean, when you don't play a kicker who is probably your second leading scorer on your team week in and week out, it's pretty tough. So, you're kind of fighting that low score if you don't do that. And Kyler didn't really have a good game. He had 16, and he's got a couple 2-0s here with a wide receiver and a running back. So I'm not surprised that his score is down at 47.9. He had literally no chance, Mike, this week to even come close to beating you, but I think Monroe was just playing to try to not set the lowest score each week in and out. So that's about all I have to say on his squad. It's pretty rough right now.
Yep, it is rough. Yeah. And I don't know why he keeps playing Isaiah Pacheco. It's not like he's had good games. Don't get me wrong, his options are pretty limited, but like Craig Reynolds would have been a better play this week, with Swift still out. When Swift comes back, then he really has no better plays. But definitely
a zeros.
Definitely a rough week for him. Maybe he can throw Gronk in there. I don't know.
What?
We got to get our laughs in now because in like 2 years or 3 years, it could be coming back to us. But we'll see.
Honestly, when you have that many first-round draft picks in a draft class, you're bound to get like at least 2 studs out of it. So he'll probably
hope at least.
You would
Just
hope
nothing.
But All right, moving on to our last matchup. We got Benny and the Jets, and Coach Ben Stelzler taking on the Ashwaubenon Righties and Coach Tony Fisher. If we had done a podcast, I have no doubt this would have been the game of the week. 2 4-0 teams coming in, but only one leaves undefeated, and that is the Righties, 154 to 133. Good games by both. Nothing to scoff at by any means. It's not a blowout, but definitely took a big performance to take the win here. Jeff, toss it over to you. Why don't you talk through this?
Yeah, I'll go on Tony's side of the ball. At one point, I was watching Red Zone, and they were going through just the fantasy leaders, and it was like the top 10. And I was just looking at it, and I was like, I think Tony had like 3 or 4 of them at that point, like just like 1, 2, 5, 6. Like it was just Tony's guys one after the next. And it's like you look at Allen, monster game, Eckler, Chubb. JJ didn't get in the end zone, but had 24 points on 12 of 13 for 154, and like just an absolute stud. And I think the funny thing is Waddle and Devontae Parker had a combine of 3.8 points. So like there's points on his bench too that obviously he's not going to hit every single person and put the perfect lineup in, but he had some other options down here that would have even jumped that score up a touch more. And it's just, his team is so good, and it's scary right now. So just unfortunately, Ben ran into the Righties, who's putting up monster numbers week in and week out.
Yeah, and this really was the matchup of both teams are great, but really it was a pretty good mirror when you look across it, right? Devontae Parker gets 0, but Dalton Schultz also gets 0, so that kind of balances out. You look at Ben's 3 wide receivers, 20, 20, 25, but then you look at Tony's 2 running backs and receiver, 30, 25, 25. Like it was a battle,
Yep.
Both sides of the ball. And really, as I'm looking up and down, some guys performed, some guys didn't, whatever. But it just comes down to the Josh Allen effect, right? He's just such an advantage over anyone else right now. Like I said, it helps when you throw a 98-yard touchdown in the first drive of the game, 3rd down from your 2-yard line, and you just throw a dart in the wind, and that was a crazy play. And like it's just stuff like that where when your quarterback's putting up 35, it takes a lot to overcome that deficit, right? Rodgers a little under 17 points, not a great game, but not a bad game, right? That's probably around quarterback 12 on the week, something like that. But just such a gap there. Nick, toss it over to you. Anything else you've seen on Benny's side of the ball?
Not too much here. I mean, just talking on both sides here, it is crazy. They have a couple positions that combine like to 6 points, and they still put up 130 and 150. Like, that's so top heavy, so good, so scary. I don't think it doesn't even seem like I would ever have a chance to even touch these guys. What I mean?
Well,
like, I haven't broke 100, I feel like.
And that's, I don't know. I think that's one of the most interesting parts of our league right now is when you drop past the first 3 teams, it's wide open, right? There's no other team that's kind of separating themselves. There's no, maybe some are a little better than others, some are a little worse than others, whatever. But really, it's wide open after that. But it almost feels like, I've talked to some guys about trades, about, this or that, and people are like, well, I'm not going to compete with, Tonys of the world, so, I'm going to wait for next year. Well, at some point, you look at the Cooley of the last 2 years, where he just all he did was make it to the playoffs, and then you can have a good week. You can pick up that one win, those 2 wins that you need, whatever. And so it's just it's interesting to me. I still feel like the whole league is pretty much wide open. Outside of Monroe, there's not a team that I would be shocked if they made the playoffs. And so
they all have an opportunity right now. Like literally every single team. We got a bunch at 2 and 3 and 3 and 2. Like it's just a grouping. Well, majority.
Well, and even if you let me see if I can get this pulled up, but I believe right now, let's see, who's the 6th seed right now? Jeff is the 6th seed right now in the playoffs. So if the playoffs started today, a team with 2 wins would be in the playoffs. So Nick, you're 1 game out. John, 1 game out of the playoffs. So that's where we're sitting as far as what to expect, what you have to overcome the rest of the season. So I'm sure it feels like, oh man, like the season's going terrible, but then you're like, oh wait, I guess I'm only a game out. That's not so bad. So really interesting how it's going to keep shaking out. But Far as our picks, current standings, Jeff and I sitting at 12-6. Nick 2 games ahead, 14-4. So at least something's going right for him. So
Woohoo! Give me that ring, boy.
So might
This
be one
one?
of your oh this guy. Probably a good opportunity. That's your chance to win something here, maybe. If the league doesn't work out, at least this could.
Oh,
All right. Well, let's hop into the next one.
Dive on into the Husky League matchups.
Ski League matchups. We got our first one is Cobra Kai at 2-3, taking on I Am Left-Handed at 0-5. Cobra Kai is the 36-point favorite in this one. Nick, I'm going to toss it over to you first. What you got?
36 points. Cobra Kai is kind of inconsistent, but we're going against Kyle coming off that terrible all-time low game. I'm going to take Cobra Kai here over I Am Left-Handed. We talked about James Robinson going against Indy, though. I think that should be decent. Hurts against Dallas. Dallas's defense has been pretty tough, but Hurts is Hurts, and Philly's been doing well, so I'm fine with that. I know there's some questionable starts over here. We talked about that wide receiving room, Rondell Moore, but going against Seattle, so Seattle's defense pretty brutal too. We'll see. I got you, Cobra. I don't know if I want you to win, but I got you. Recover that. I got you.
I got very confused for a minute because I think Nick put his picks under Travis, which I didn't fill out. So I was like, oh, I don't see Nick's pick in here. But Jeff, I'm going to toss it over to you. What do you got in this one?
I did that on all of them, too.
Yeah,
I'm going to go, what did you say, 36 points?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the lefties. I got to pick them here. I think Kyler versus Seattle, there's an opportunity for Murray to put up a decent amount of points. Zay Jones is a good play for Kyle's team there, so I'm hoping he does good. Komet tonight against Washington. If he does pretty well, I think Kyle has a decent shot. And then he's actually playing a kicker this week who is going to probably put up some points against Buffalo. I think that game's going to be a high scoring game. So although I don't feel great about it, I just don't know. I don't know if Olave is going to play, and if he is he going to be as good as he was last week? And there's just some question marks on Kai's side that I'm hoping Monroe can just keep it close, and Kai doesn't get to that. What do you need, like 90 points, and you'd be pretty much safe? That's kind of what you're shooting for. So, I'm hoping just for a low score out of the Cobras this week.
Yeah, I had Lefty in the show doc here, and I looked over it while you were talking, and I have no idea why I had Lefty in there. I changed it. I got to go with the Cobra here. It's pretty rough. It's rough in these streets. I mean, two Falcons going against San Francisco's incredible defense. 3 Chiefs going against Buffalo's incredible defense. I mean, Cole Kmet, good matchup against Washington. Like, cool. But
Scary.
But yeah, it's rough in these streets for lefties here, and I got to take Cobra to cover this one. Hurts playing Dallas, they're solid, but he's kind of matchup proof. He's going to put up a lot. McKenzie, I see, is out of concussion protocol, and against Kansas City, I got to think he gets a good amount of work. It'll be interesting to see him and Khalil Shakir. Shakir had a good week last week, the rookie. Crowder's out for the season, so it's going to be more of those two maybe fighting for snaps versus Crowder and McKenzie. So it'll be interesting off the good week last week if they liked what they saw to Shakir, or if it's right back to McKenzie kind of taking over the bulk of that role. But yep, taking the Cobras in this one. So moving on to our next matchup, we got the SCLSU Mud Dogs at 2-3, taking on Jay's Juggernauts at 2-3. Dogs are a 2-point favorite in this one. I see a start-sit here. We're talking Eno Benjamin or Travis Etienne. Nick, I'm going to toss it over to you. Give the Jugs some advice and give me your pick.
I'm going to toss it back because I didn't see that. I'm going to look at it real quick.
All right. So Jeff, why don't I toss it over to you? Why don't you talk through this matchup a little bit and then maybe talk through your decision here?
Yeah. So I got. I'm gonna go with myself. I'm going with the Jugs for the 2-point 2 points to cover that. I got, like you mentioned, Mike, got some clarity with Brees Hall being probably the alpha there going against Green Bay. It's not a great matchup, but Green Bay hasn't been the greatest either. Their defense recently, so I'm hoping he can kind of build off his performance last week. Stevenson with Harris out going against a bad Cleveland rush defense. I'm hoping just for a monster game there, and then I'm really just kind of trying to find my wide receivers and see which ones can get me some points. Cooper's been, pretty consistent, hit or miss on a couple weeks, but overall getting in the end zone and getting me some nice points. Kirk started off great. Now he's kind of fizzled out here the last couple weeks, and I'm still waiting for McLaurin to kind of turn around and be that player that he's supposed to be. So, I think from that side of things, I'm pretty confident in my lineup there, and that's what I'm going to roll with. But the big question mark that I have is, Eno Benjamin or Travis Etienne with James Conner out, a couple other running backs on the Cardinals out. I think I saw them sign
Darrell Williams,
Tyson, and some other running back from the practice squad. So there's potential for Benjamin to be the lead guy against the Hawks, or do I go the route where I stack ETN playing in a dome with Trevor Lawrence and hope that he kind of starts to take over that backfield more and more? So
I'll hop in here right away. I got the Jugs here to cover this 2-point spread. I think the Jugs have enough to take this win. If it's me, Darrell Williams is out. It doesn't sound like James Conner is going to play. Obviously, if he plays, that's going to change this. But I'd throw Eno Benjamin in there. He looked good at the end of that game. He gets a good amount of pass work out of the backfield. And mainly it comes down to me not wanting to play 3 Jaguars against Indianapolis. ETN plus Kirk plus Trevor Lawrence just is a lot riding on one game, and not that it couldn't work out, but I'd look to diversify, and I think Eno's a good play to do that with. I really just want to see it from ETN a little bit before I start relying on him, which honestly for you, once Jacobs is back, ETN's going to be on the bench with those 3 running backs outside of bye weeks, but that's where I go in this one. But yeah, I got the Jugs taking it here. Mahomes, I have to think he's going to come down to earth a little bit against this Buffalo defense. CeeDee Lamb, Philly's been pretty solid, so maybe they can keep him in check. And Rashad Bateman, I don't even know if he plays in this one. Still, I don't think practiced today with that foot injury, so he's questionable. And then, Freiermuth against Tampa Bay or Pitts against San Francisco. I don't know if those aren't great matchups, and Freiermuth coming off the concussion, his 3rd or 4th concussion in a year. I don't know that he's going to be necessarily out there. So Jeff or Nick, toss it over to you. Finish this up with picks and give your thoughts on the start sit.
Yeah, I got the Jugs in this one too. I really like that Brees Hall play. You talked about all your guys; they're coming on pretty strong here. I'm going Benjamin for the reason that Mike said too. I was looking over that 3 of them in that lineup from Jacksonville. It's just a little scary. I know it's against Indianapolis, but still, I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket there. I mean, I think Mahomes still has a decent game. I know Buffalo has a good defense, but gosh, it's Patty Mahomes. Mixon should be able to run on New Orleans. I mean, we saw last week, which was surprising.
Right.
So he should be able to run on it. It could be a little higher scoring game there, but yeah, I got you here, Jeff. I think you got enough to do her.
I think it's going to be really close. I really do. I think this is going to be
I
come down to the last, whoever can get that last touchdown or that plunge to get, a 6 or 7 point advantage here. Cause I think it's going to be back and forth pretty much the entire time. So
Game of the week?
I don't know.
Yeah, make it. Hit it, baby.
I was ready somehow.
Dog, it's the game of the week.
I don't know how I was able to do that quickly. Was more ready for that than the stuff that was in the show doc.
That was insane.
All right, moving on to our next matchup. We got Benny and the Jets at 4-1, taking on Old Man Joe at 2-3. Jets are a 20-point favorite in this one. I'll talk to this one to start because I just not moments ago put in a start sit that Joe had sent me that I realized I didn't have in the show doc. So Joe's looking at, does he go with Pickens? Does he hope for a DJ Moore resurgence? or does he go with Brandon Ayuk? You know, Ayuk's probably been getting the most consistent targets. It's just like, it's painful to try to trust that he's going to, Jimmy G is going to be able to connect on some of those deep balls. Pickens has had a pretty good rapport, it looks like, with Kenny Pickett, but again, going against Tampa Bay, Carlton Davis, a really good cornerback there. I don't know if he'll be pretty locked on to Deontay or if he'll end up with Pickens, you know, depending on side of the field here. But for me, I'm going to hope that, you know, in a match or in a game where you've got your third string quarterback in there, that he needs to hyper target his best player, and I'm going to go with DJ Moore and think PJ Walker is just going to have to rely. That's where I'm going to go here, and I really, that's really the reason, right? I'm just hoping for huge target share because PJ Walker just needs to look to nothing but Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore. I can't imagine has a whole lot of confidence when he's looking Robbie Anderson's way or Shi Smith's way or anything like that. So I'm going DJ Moore in this situation. It's painful, but in a line that's kind of close, when I'm really just a toss-up between guys, I'm going to go with the guy that has the pedigree too, and that's DJ Moore. I feel less bad being wrong when I picked the guy that I was supposed to pick. So I'm going there. And as far as the game, though, I got Benny to cover this line. Rodgers against the Jets I think is great. Dalvin against Miami, Cooper Kupp against Carolina, Diggs against Kansas City, Lockett against Arizona. I could keep going down the list. It's just great matchups all the way down. So I'm confident in Benny to kind of outperform himself here, and that 20 points I think is definitely doable for him. A little bit surprised to see J.D. McKissick up there in the RB spot. I can't remember who he had it set at, but I wasn't really expecting that start there. Connor's gonna miss, yeah. But that honestly just doesn't really change my mind all that much. I'm gonna go with Benny to cover this line here. Jeff, toss it over to you. What you got and what you think about Joe starts it?
Yeah, this was a tough one for me. This one I was going back and forth, and I actually changed it right when I got on here. I'm gonna go with Old Man Joe here. I think seeing that McKissick play, I like it, but it also, I don't love it either at the same time. I'm not a big fan of these Thursday night games. They usually just grind it out. They're typically lower scoring, so kind of a risk there. He's down Connor, but as far as the start sit question goes, I see the intrigue to play Pickens with how he performed and how he's got the rapport with the new quarterback in there. But I'm also going to go with DJ Moore. Mike, I think you hit it spot on. You're down to your third string quarterback. In the past, I believe I read something, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was PJ Walker targeted more times than not, more times than Baker, more times than anyone else, which makes sense. You're in there, you're trying to get your ball into your best hands. And so I would go with DJ Moore and just let him ride. I don't really love Pickens against the Bucks, and Ayuk, I can see that a little bit, but I'd go more Pickens than Ayuk would be my flow. But I see enough on Joe's side here with Ken Walker playing, Sanders going against Dallas. That's going to be a tough one, but I think they're going to have to grind it out, get the ball on the ground. And Sanders has been surprising this year. So A.J. Brown, same thing, had a down week last week, hoping for a bounce back. So I think Joe has enough here to keep it inside that 20 points. And I think this one's going to be a pretty close overall score. So I'm rolling with Old Man Joe.
Yeah, I don't fault you for that. It was definitely a close, and I think seeing the McKissick play made it even closer for me. And I'm sticking with Benny, but I definitely am not as sure as I was earlier today. So Nick, toss it over to you. What are you thinking in this one?
Oh, I'm still not quite sure. I mean, I have Old Man Joe down here first, but I have Old and then Benny, not sure. That's my notes. I don't know.
Those are the two options.
Not sure though. Not sure. I want to pick both actually. Can I do both? No. Shut up, Nick. All right. I think I'm going to lean towards Benny on this side. Looking at those matchups, I think they're just too juicy otherwise. Kansas City for Diggs. Cup against Carolina, Rodgers against the Jets. Dalvin Cook coming off a huge game, Lockett against their. I can't go away from it. I wanted to pick Joe to cover because 20 points is a lot for these two teams, but Ben's matchups are just so nice. Then you got Philly against Dallas. We talked about that. That's a little scary. I don't know between Pickens and Moore. I think target share is going to actually be pretty equivalent. I mean, they had 8. I think Pickens had 8 and 8 the last 2 games. They're going against Tampa Bay. I think I go Pickens. It's just I'm so disappointed in DJ Moore. I mean, the safer bet would probably be a higher floor, would be DJ Moore, but I'm going Pickens, baby.
Especially going against Ben too, where you need to put some high numbers up. I think, I could see it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely those two. Ayuk is out of the equation for me, so I really don't have a problem with either of those guys. I do wonder as I look at this one more time too if Ben's going to change his mind about that Dalton Schultz start, 2 goose eggs in a row,
right?
After missing a game, and then 0.8 points the week before. He hasn't scored one single point since week 1. He has Hayden Hurst down on the bench, who's been getting a good amount of work. T. Higgins is still a little banged up, so we don't even know if he's going to go. And that really just bumps Hayden Hurst's value. So I'm a little surprised. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if that changes between now and game time. So
right.
But moving on to our next matchup, we got the Taint Ticklers at 1-4, taking on Grizzly Adams at 3-2. Taint is a 2-point favorite in this one, which very much surprised me. But Taint, I'm gonna toss it over to you and let you talk through this one. What you seeing in this?
Oh God, I don't want to be favored in a matchup against the defending champ. Are you kidding me?
2-time defending champ. I am required to say.
Okay, yeah, okay. Oh, gross. That was disgusting. Now it changed my pick. I'm taking me now just because of that.
Okay.
I didn't really want to. I mean, the start.
You have to now. You already said it.
I did. I said it. I don't love what I got working here. I mean, Robinson in there right now. I mean, the option between him and Alec Pierce this week. I don't know if you guys have any insight on there. Robinson's supposed to start tonight. It's scary, 3-headed monster. But will Gibby just be phased away immediately? I mean, last game, Robinson was taking all the 2-minute work. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with that one. I don't know if any of my guys are even healthy. So, like, Keenan Allen, I'm not even sure if he's going to play. So, but I'm taking myself because I got to stay strong because I said it.
Yeah, I think Nick, I like your play of Brian Robinson here, and not necessarily because I think he's a great play this week, but it's the last thing you said there about not really knowing what the health of your team is. It gives you the flexibility to be able to sub in Alec Pierce as a wide receiver in for a Keenan Allen if he doesn't go all of a sudden or something like
Monday,
that.
Dude, he plays Monday. What am I doing?
But you'll hopefully we hear before Monday, if it's looking like he's trending the wrong direction. But gives you at least something. Well, Melvin Gordon also plays Monday as your flex. Oh
no!
Man. But no, that was the original thought. But Nick, I don't know how you're favored in this one. I got to take the Grizz in this. Lamar Jackson against the Giants should have a field day. Debo against Atlanta should have a field day. I got to go with him. Travis Kelce will come back to earth a little bit. He's not going to have 4 touchdowns against Buffalo. I'm not even. Maybe that's going out on a limb. I don't really know, but no, I think that I will say I don't necessarily love, Devontae Smith isn't necessarily consistent. Deontay Johnson, like I said, if it is Carlton Davis following him around, he could have a rough outing, although he's getting so many targets. I don't know that he's not going to do nothing. He'll at least get a couple points with just the amount of targets he's getting his way. And then Corey Davis back from the dead and into the lineup.
I hate that guy.
But I'm taking the Grizz in this one. Jeff, toss it over to you. What you got here?
Yeah, I'm also going to go with the Grizz, and mostly because I don't think Keenan's playing. Godwin's kind of banged up, Nick. Just I don't know. It's tough to say. But I think Lamar's going to have a pretty good game against the Giants. Tony Pollard might be a pretty good play. He scored a long one last week. Every time he gets in there, he looks just very explosive and, a good play, and they just don't give him the ball enough. But at some point that's got to change, and maybe they need that big play against the Eagles. Who knows? But Samuel and Kelsey are kind of the big reasons, and Jackson. Cooley's team is always Jackson and Kelsey, and then one of his wide receivers pops, and he gets it done. So I think that's going to be consistent again this week, and I think there's enough here on Cooley's side of the ball to get that done. But I think this one again, like I said it before, and this week there's going to be a lot of close games, and I think this one's going to come right down to the end. There's a couple favorable matchups on your side, Nick, that gives me a little bit of scare picking Cooley, but I think overall I've got a little bit more confidence in him this week. So that's where I'm leaning.
Is part of your Grizz pick because of
Jeff's keep on cooking.
Who wants some man meat? I do. I want some man meat.
Am I the only one that
Yep.
remembers when you guys pick something like this?
Sorry.
Absolutely. Nope. And that's a good point. Mike touched on it, but Jeff's just keep on cooking player of the week is going to be Travis Kelsey. 4 touchdowns, 25 yards, 30 points last week. So he's over that 20-point threshold, and going against Buffalo, where Mahomes is going to need to put up points to stick up with that Josh Allen and the Bills lineup, and Kelsey's his favorite target, and one especially in the red zone. So I think he's got a good shot of getting over that. So that's my Jeff's just keep on cooking player this week.
Yeah, and Jeff, you mentioned Nick having some favorable matchups. You're definitely not wrong. Pittsburgh defense has been a sieve, and if Chris Godwin's healthy, he should do a lot of good work there. Tyler Higbee's getting the only targets that don't go to Cooper Kupp, so a solid. And then Melvin Gordon revenge game again against the Chargers. So I don't know if you can call it a revenge game like 2 years later. So, but
Revenge game again.
But there's
And then
definitely
Geno,
matchups.
baby.
Geno.
Against Arizona, the most.
Guaranteed this is the week that Russ scores like 40 points.
Right, dude?
There's no chance that he doesn't. Moving on to our next matchup. We got Ball's Life at 1-4, taking on Archduke Fish at 5-0. Dukes are a 19-point favorite in this one. Nick, tossing it over to you first. What you got here?
I got you, Michael. You talked about that sieve of a defense known as the Pittsburgh Steelers. Tom Brady going up against them with Mike Evans. That's going to be a lot of points for your boys. So, running back room, great matchups. I love it. Love it for you for the
Blah, blah, blah.
blah, blah. Talk tomorrow, eh? Yeah, and then now I'll remember this drop if you want to hit it for me, my boy.
Nick's bum of the week.
Spare any change, sir? No, off!
Oh, he actually took him out of the lineup since then.
Oh, he's
Didn't
in
he?
there in mine. This is
He's in
RB2.
there, mine too.
Oh, yeah, he's right there. Najee Harris. It's just a cluster tonight, fellas.
Mid-season
Couple
form.
weeks off. Yeah,
Yeah.
a couple weeks off, and it's just a disaster. You forget how to talk and read. But Najee Harris against Tampa Bay's defense. Najee has that offense has looked pretty bad. And he's got 5 points last week, 7 the week before. I don't think he's gonna get that mark. I think he's projected like 11. It's gonna be under that. So
I wonder if any of this comes back to Najee's foot injury from preseason. They kind of brushed it off like it was nothing, but he's not getting the snap share that he had been getting. So I wonder if any of his rough production as of late kind of comes back to that. Right, 49% snaps last week. That's not something we've really ever seen from him.
No, not at all.
So I think I heard it on a podcast either today or yesterday. Like, best thing for him might be just to shut him down for a week or two, let him get healthy if that is something that's bothering him. But when I look at this, I got to take the Dukes as well. This is good matchups, pretty much all around. T. Higgins, if he doesn't play, I just slot Jacoby Myers up in there, and I'm happy about that. But yeah, I'd be curious to hear your guys' thoughts. George Kittle versus Atlanta. Taysom Hill, who does New Orleans have in this one? Against Cincinnati, or Gerald Everett against Denver. I don't know that there's an obvious choice to me among those three, other than just keep playing Kittle and eventually the 30-point games come. But Jeff, toss it over to you for your pick and maybe some thoughts on those tight ends.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Archduke as well. Your running back room, Mike, is just it looks juicy, and even Marquise Brown, Mike Evans, like your wide receivers have some pretty good matchups this week too. So I think you're gonna put up quite a bit of points here. Your tight end slot is about the only question mark, and it's gonna be crazy to like sit George Kittle for Taysom Hill. I can't even do that. I'd stick with Kittle. I mean, Kittle's a top 5 tight end, and yeah, Taysom's
This year.
involved and been doing great, but I don't think you can bank on him getting. Well, I mean, even if he got you 12, that'd be more than what Kittle getting. I'm going back and forth, but I'd roll with Kittle. Just stick with him, baby. Stick with Kittle. He's a beast, and it's only a matter of time before he starts getting more involved and getting in the end zone there. So I look over at John's side too, and I don't love the Cam Akers play. Chase against the Saints. Saints do a nice job and I forget the cornerback that they have
Marlon
there. But
Humphreys.
yeah, and I think Lattimore too is there as well. So they got some options just to not shut them down or blanket them, but just make it difficult. And is AJ Dillon going to be as involved as he should be going forward? And that they keep hinting towards, we don't know yet. We haven't seen it. So there's some question marks on John's side. Same with Stafford. So just too many question marks for me. I'm going to roll with the Archduke, and I think you win this one pretty easily, Mike.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate for John. He's getting hit by bye weeks here with Derrick Henry out and with T.J. Hawkinson out. Some of his big players that he's kind of relying on as set and forget guys. Nick, any thoughts on the tight end or any more thoughts in this game?
I think I'm actually going Taysom Hill here. Dalton.
Thought you hated that guy.
I do, but someone's got to start him. I can never because I had Kamara, so I traded him to Mike so he could start him. So
wait, didn't you start Taysom in the toilet bowl over Russell?
Boom! Fuck you! That same thing's gonna happen to me this week. You watch. I hate him. I hate him so much. But start him, Mike.
I'm going back and forth. I actually might. I'm really not sure.
I mean,
it's gonna be tough.
The matchup against Atlanta is nice, but you just really haven't seen a lot from Kittle. I mean, the ceiling feels higher for Taysom, to be honest with you. Lower floor, obviously.
I wouldn't even doubt that.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like you really need the
No.
little points right now against Paul's life. So, I mean, might as well throw it out there.
It's gonna feel gross if he does throw Kittle on the bench, though. That's gonna be like one of the
Kittle goes off.
You're like, I don't love that,
I
but
don't like it.
I hate it.
yeah.
So much.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Uh-oh.
I
You got
keep
Michael's
getting calls.
Calls? Don't
Hello,
they
this
know
is
you're
me.
busy? Hello, this is me.
I keep getting calls and they go to my headphones because my phone's downstairs but still connected. Annoying. Moving on to our last matchup. We got little JJ Humpy and Madumpy at 3-2 taking on the Ashwaubenon righties at 5-0. Righties are a 25-point favorite in this one. I'm going to jump in and say I'm going to take the righties. They've proven nothing except the fact that they're going to cover any line that you give them. Raheem Mostert should be a good play, assuming that he goes. I saw he did not practice, but I think it was just a rest day. Michael Thomas, we'll see if he goes or not. Those are really the only two questions on the righty side of the ball here. Everybody else is pretty locked in. Chubb, Eckler, Jefferson. Waddle's been down, but he's still got to be locked in there, and Mark Andrews too. Just a great lineup here, and I don't think that Jord has enough to keep up with him on the other side of the ball. Some good matchups for him, but it's just tough. You can have as good a matchups as you want, but if Cooper Rush puts up 4 points and Josh Allen puts up 30, it doesn't. I don't know that it's going to matter. Nick, toss it over to you. What you seeing in this one?
Yeah, I got Fish's God here too. He's just so hot lately. He's scoring so many points. I mean, you came off a good game on Jordan's side with Fournette. Lenny's back, baby, and Gabe Davis a couple long ones. But they are going against Kansas City. But I feel like 2 boom games in a row for a very volatile player is going to be tough. Like, I wouldn't bet on it. I know the matchup's great, but is Tua still dead?
Yes,
yeah,
he's
but
out
I think
this week.
he's back.
He's
back
practicing,
this
but
week.
he's not playing this week.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's just
So good
Sort of.
news, but
sort of dead.
Yeah.
I do like, I mean, Denver's matchup against the Chargers, but we talked about that offense just being booty hole. I just don't think there's enough there. Tony's just so hot right now.
He's so hot right now. Jeff, toss it over to you. What you seeing in this?
I'm gonna follow suit with you guys. I'm going with the righties, and Mike, you said it too. You know, until Tony doesn't cover one of these, then I'm gonna start thinking elsewhere. But so far, he's putting up a minimum 130, 140 on an off week. It's ridiculous. And you know, part of it, Jordan's got 3 Packers in there. That's gonna be tough unless that game is a really high scoring game and all those touchdowns go to those guys. But I just look at, you know, Tony's side, and he's got the number 1 on every single one of their offenses. Realistically, maybe besides Waddle and Tyreek, it's a toss up. But outside of that, it's just scary. So not much more. No more analysis is needed. I'm just gonna roll with the righties and keep rolling with them.
Yep, I don't know if there's much more analysis you need than that at this point with Tony's team and how it looks. So, all right, let's hop into an old classic.
Ask me the questions, Bridgekeeper. I'm not afraid.
This here's Mike's. Will it happen?
All right, Mike. Longtime friend of the show, league member. Will Ball Is Life finish with a record above 500?
It will not happen.
That was Mike's. Will it happen?
Suck it, John.
Suck it, John! Eat those eggs, boy!
Suck it, John.
Shut up, baby. I know it.
Shut up, baby. I know it. Absolute guarantee.
All right, let's hop into our guarantees here. I'm going to go first on this one. I already kind of declared it publicly, but down week for Chubb. I'm calling for against New England's defense. Less than 15 points. Fuck you, Tony.
Does he
I'm gonna
score
be
a
right.
touchdown?
Fuck you, Tony!
Does he score?
It doesn't matter. He's not getting 15 points.
Shut up, baby. I know it.
We love that.
Jeff, what we got?
I got, Nick, you're not going to like this one, but I got Grizzly Adams will send the Taint Ticklers to their 5th straight loss.
Shut up, baby. I know it.
Oof.
Yeah, that's okay, Jeff. I'm
tough
not
one,
too
man.
confident in myself either, so.
All right, Spill.
More shade towards John here. I think Russell Wilson's going to outscore Stafford in those 2 shitty offenses, both terrible quarterback starts.
Gotta love
So
bad
mine's gonna be-
guarantees on a backup quarterback, huh?
Well, he's going to outscore him, and I'm going to be sad.
Shut up, baby, I know it.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, that's reasonable. I don't even disagree with it either. Stafford's brutal.
They're both brutal, dude.
True.
If Jameis Winston comes back and you're John, do you start him automatically?
Who are they going against again?
I mean, just regardless of opponent, if you're, your
Yeah.
default
Oh, yeah.
lineup is Jameis your
Steve
default
against-
starter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I would
Probably.
think as well.
At this point, yeah, you have to until you see something else.
I would think once Jameis is back of the 2 of them, it's like, do I want 12 points from Matt Stafford as my peak, or do I want?
Yeah, it's a peak, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thanks for stopping by, everybody. Good luck this week, unless you're playing one of us. Have a good one.
Webster's Dictionary defines radish as a swollen, pungent-tasting edible root high in potassium, which can help lower blood pressure. Or more importantly, 3 guys spitting nonsense and talking about fantasy football. Add salt and pepper and chomp into another episode next time. See y'all later.
I didn't mean to cut you off. It's just a delay, and I was like, oh, whoops, whatever. We roll with it.
Enough of this.
All right. Sorry, Nick. Fuck off.